in which it was one language that the Christ spoke. And if it's not, then where will the power come from? And these are the people that the demons will say, Jesus Christ I know, but you, who are you? The question is, who are you? As a believer, and though you profess to say you're a believer, do you know what you believe in? The Lord said in the book of Luke, from verse 16, he says, and he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as was his custom, he entered the synagogue on the Sabbath, and stood up to read. And the book of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. And he opened the book and found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives, and the recovery of sight to the blind, to set free those who are oppressed, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord. And he closed the book. When you hear me proclaim the word of God, to say we release you from the stronghold of Satan and his agents, from demonic spirits that is operating against your life, you must know the authority from which it came from, to set the prisoners free, the oppressed, that are being oppressed all over the earth. But yet you find the flourishing of businesses proclaiming to be that of God, and yet there is no power of God. In the gate called the Beautiful, you will see the performance of the apostles in the release of Bartimaeus. What I have, I will give you. For gold and silver, I do not have. Get up and pick up your mat and go. And there he jumped up and jubilated and followed the apostles. But yet, in the book of Luke 4, you hear Christ. Everybody was happy because of what he has said until he began to talk about Naaman, the Syrian general, who himself was healed. And they wonder why Christ will not perform some miracles. I went to one of those trips in my apostolic journey home. On the first trip, I made home after 30 years and entered a clan house, still looking as old. Then it was a nice place. But imagine after 30 years what it will look like in the surrounding environment. Nothing has changed. To warn them that because you have deviated from serving the God your father served, that is why you are dying. And right there, some of my cousins rose up in challenge to say that the problem is because they have stopped to worship another idol called Udo. And that is what they are told. And I told them, for those that profess the name of Christ, you must not partake or allow the money and contribution that you make to be put towards the rehabilitation of that shrine. For those that are speaking did not know why our ancestors shut it down. And so it shall consume them. And the first man that was sent, a young man, who, because they had money, my cousin for that matter, went to try to start that. That young man died because the brother sent him to go and superhead the rehabilitation of the shrine, and died suddenly. They did not know how many people that had died because they went to worship a false god. And today you hear a lot of churches are beginning to return back to the God their ancestors served. The God of Baal, the God of sexual immoralities. And they are changing the word again that they had done each time it is convenient for them to be able to return and use the word of God in order to control other people and retain their power upon the earth. They change the meanings of the word and give it a new translation. And yet they see the earth in its decay. They see their life in decay, their power moving away. So you understand the analogy I was making about the ancestral duty and performance of a priestly duty of divinations and sanctifications and prohibitions against Satan and their agents and their demons and evil spirits. You wonder why they are relying in the revelations that were given by people and saying that it came from Mary. We are speaking about Mother's Day. But was that the kind of life Mary? How come the word and the Marian ministry did not start until the 5th century? And it wasn't until Pope, was it Pope Gregory the 5th? I think it was Pope Gregory the 5th in the 5th century. I'm going to check that out to be sure. That was the one that gave it a papal blessing. And how much church fought against it until the 9th century. And it wasn't by 13th century that it began to get endorsement of the great theologian of the Church of Christ, allowing that human theories and human additions may be made into the acceptance of Marian ministry, calling it an acknowledgement of the role of Mary in the life of Christians, which have turned it into idol worship. My mother has a shrine in our house. When I go, I don't like to visit there. Maybe I visit to make sure she's okay and I go back because he got an idol in my father's house and calling it Marian Shrine. Idol worship. That's what they are promoting. And then I give you a verse in the scriptures later about the Queen of Heaven to see the origin of the encroachment in order to expand the reach of the people that will come to make contribution, establish and maintain the empire and the glory that the magisterium is occupying and enjoying, so they can allow different kinds of misinterpretations and doctrines and teachings that is not